start the second half.
Here comes Gooden gonna score the 2 and 1.
Full drive inside. Stop. Hang on a pivot. Turnaround jump shot is good.
Jordan Battle with a nice spin move. Kicks it down low. Vardon, Big Maple with the finish.
What's up, everybody? It is another episode of the Straight Outta Whack podcast. Here is still ACU week as we preview the Wildcats, both the men and the women's basketball team on Whack Hoops Digest, getting ready for the 2022-23 season. Tonight, it's Thursday night. We're going to put this out on Friday morning, so you'll be seeing this on Friday, but it's Thursday night. And we got Coach Julie Goodenough, ACU women's basketball head coach. Julie, how you doing tonight? I'm wondering if it's as hot in Texas as it is in Utah and maybe Arizona and California, to be honest.
Yeah, we've had like 2 weeks of 100-degree plus weather, and we actually had a little rain shower today. It's like in the 80s, so we're enjoying this.
Nice. Yeah, I had to umpire adult slow pitch softball last night, and we got poured on. It was actually very, very nice. So, yeah, but we got Daryl and Chelsea here who are going to be doing a lot of coverage for women's basketball on the website. And, I'm going to ask the first question, and then I'll turn it over to them. My biggest question is, what did you learn from the first year in the Western Athletic Conference? I mean, you've been in the Southland for so long. Then you come over to the Western Athletic Conference. Seems like everybody says it was a little bit more competitive, maybe. I don't know. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, gosh, it was a great educational experience for us. I think that's what our staff has talked about the most, just how much we learned playing in the WAC for the first season. I'll start with the travel. It was pretty extreme compared to the Southland. We had not flown as much as we flew this year, so just navigating all of that was new to us. In the Southland, you could fly to a few places, but you could drive everywhere. So just I think all the flights and the long trips where we might leave on a Tuesday and not get home until a Sunday was different for our players. We had to adjust to that academically and figure out how can we navigate this to help them not get so far behind in class. But as far as the basketball goes, it was very competitive. Night after night, we saw different styles of play, really good coaches across the board in the WAC, great individual players as well. And so a really good learning experience for us. We, I think evaluated ourselves throughout the course of the season. And then at the end of the season that, we wanted to get a little bit more athletic in our recruiting, just getting out in the recruiting. As far as the transfer portal goes, we need to add some athleticism. And I think that we did that. There's some great post players in the conference, big post players that really caused us problems and helped their teams be successful. We wanted to find a way to kind of combat that a little bit. We really didn't get bigger in our recruiting, but I think we're probably going to change some things defensively, maybe to help us with some of the bigger post players. But a great year overall. Good educational experience, though. We really did learn a lot.
I want to ask you, you talk about the post players in the WAC, and these two will probably attest to it too. How relieved were you when you saw that Josie Williams is going to Louisville instead of, coming back to Utah Valley?
I mean, it is good for all the other teams in the WAC for sure. I mean, honestly, there was a lot of talk about it on the road recruiting the last week. But when I saw that she was in the portal and that, more than likely she was going to leave, I felt really bad for Dan and for Utah Valley. You cannot replace a player like that in July. I mean, there's just no way. There's no one out there that will make an impact for their team like Josie. And so, I feel really bad for them, and that could happen to any of us at any point. So, but it's good for everybody that has to play against them for sure.
Coach, as I was looking over the stats this year, it was a really solid first year in the WAC. The first thing I want to address is some of the defensive numbers. You guys were bottom of the conference in defensive field goal percentage, 3-point field goal percentage. What are are you guys working on this offseason to address those issues?
Yeah. A big thing when we started going back and watching video, there's obviously some things we can tweak, I think strategically, but we felt like we needed to get a little more athletic. And so that was a big point of emphasis for us in the portal, was to find players that could stop ball penetration. It just seemed like we were helping on every single possession. We were getting beat off the drive. And so we wanted to find some players that were better on ball defenders, more athletic, where we didn't have to help so much. And we feel like that we found some players that can help us with that. Bad coaching, I think, a lot for our defensive flaws. We'll just chalk it up to some bad coaching for sure.
Well, I don't know about that, but going back to what you said about recruiting, you did lose your top 2 scorers over this off season in Jamie Benarenz and Tatum Barber. How did that really affect your mindset going into this off season and making sure you keep that core together as well as with recruiting?
Yeah, we always recruit 2 scorers, and so we've added some really good scoring threats. We feel like we've got some players that can, help us offensively. Again, and we're dreadful defensively, and that was a big point of emphasis for us. But we've got 4 freshmen coming in. We've got some really good shooters in that group, and then we were fortunate to find some transfers out of the portal that we think will make an immediate impact, that really fit into our style of play, that can create shots for themselves and others, but are also good 3-point shooters. So we will really miss Jamie and Tatum, but we feel like offensively we've got some people that can step up from last year from our core group, but also with our transfers.
Coach, how gratifying is it to see that Jamie went down the road to becoming a coach this year?
I know, we're so proud of her, and she's just a few miles away from home, actually. She started her basketball career at Cameron and then went on to Colorado State, and then we got her for her grad transfer year. So I'm really proud of her, and excited just to see what she thinks about it. And I've talked to her a couple of times since she took the job, and just told her, we'll help as much as we can, whatever she needs. And one of her first tasks was to host an elite camp. And she was like, Coach, I'm just used to you handing me the schedule and telling me what to do. And now I'm going to create the schedule for elite camp. And she'll do a tremendous job, and just such a high basketball IQ. She'll be a good teacher and really understands the game well. And I mean, if you want to learn how to score, I think Jamie can help you be a really good scorer too. That was for sure a big strength of hers, is putting the ball in the hole.
Going back to the transfer portal this offseason, the interesting trend that we noted was that there were 7 players in the WAC that ended up just transferring to other schools in the WAC, one of those being to your team in Brooke Jessen from UTRGV. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'll tell you that about 2 hours after we felt like we got upset in the conference tournament, we named Brooke the Wildcat Slayer. Brooke had a career high against us, and we knew she had a nice shot. We just didn't do a good job guarding her, and so we nicknamed her the Wildcat Slayer. So we were obviously very interested in Brooke when we saw her name go in the portal. We weren't sure exactly what direction we were going as far as who we would really pursue out of the portal, but we made a note that she was in there. And so then we, just evaluated what we wanted to add to our team and started talking to her, and felt like she'd be a great fit, not only as a basketball player, but as a person as well.
I have to ask, and I asked Lane Lord this last year at Media Day, you get one, but how do you feel about the whole inter-conference transferring? I don't know. I mean, obviously you got one from UTRGV, but how interesting is that when you're facing that same team in February or January that you've pulled, or you're facing a team and maybe pulled a player from you? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's going to be very uncomfortable. I watched UTRGV at Grand Canyon live. I watched it live stream from my house, and I was real interested on UTRG's approach playing against Graham at Grand Canyon, and I saw just the intensity and the focus and the purpose that UTRGV played with there. And so I would guess when, these teams who have lost players play against their former players, like there's going to be just a greater level of focus and purpose that we're going to see in those ball games. So I think it'll be a little bit uncomfortable on both sides, more than likely.
Coach, I want to talk about I want to ask you about Maddie Miller coming back for her grad year. How big is that on a roster that is very, very underclassmen heavy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's huge. We can't really put a value on it yet. I think it's going to be invaluable to us. We have not really benefited from the COVID year from our own players. The 21 season, we had a very mature group of 4 seniors who all had life planned out and they were ready to go on to grad school. We had one that got married, one that had a job lined up. And so we didn't get any of those players back. And so then this season, we had 3 super seniors already whose eligibility was up. And we had one that wanted to go back to New York, is where she's from. And then Cam Miraz, our point guards, decided not to play basketball anymore. Her little body, I think, was pretty worn out. And so for Maddie to decide to come back and play is just, for me, it's such a blessing. I love Maddie, and she and I, we think a lot alike, and she's been really fun to coach. And I think just for, a person of stability, someone who's been here, someone who's all in to our culture, just to have her voice in the locker room will be invaluable. I don't even know if we can place a value on it yet, but I think she's going to bring a lot to our program, not just stats and not just the way she plays out on the court, but just what she does on a daily basis, leading our program from within.
I'm sorry, I keep jumping in here at times. I just want to follow up on that. With the transfer portal, a lot of times grad transfers take off. I mean, talk about that. You've already talked about how important she is with the youth that you have, but like the fact that a grad transfer stays, kind of showing some loyalty there, which we don't tend to see a lot right now with the transfer portal the way it is.
Well, Maddie actually made a statement, and we had like a press release on her this summer. And I thought her statement was awesome. She said, why would I leave the place where everyone is invested in me? Everyone loves me. I love this place. Why would I want to go start over where I don't know anyone? No one knows me. And she said, I just want to stay where, I have so much support and so many people have invested in me. If I have a chance to stay, I don't know why I would go anywhere else. And so we really do appreciate that. And I know that's not the popular trend right now. It's like, I'm going to go spend my COVID year somewhere bigger and better or whatever. And for some people that probably works out really well. But I think that Maddie's perspective is a really good one. And we appreciate her loyalty and just wanting to be a part of another special season.
And as you talk about that and how the transfer portal has changed, I know you've been coaching for quite a while. What have been like the biggest differences that you've noticed in like maybe just locker room chemistry and stuff like that when it comes to how much the transfer portal has changed since the rules have changed in the last couple of years?
Yeah, the locker room is interesting. We'll recruit an incoming freshman for 2 years. And when someone goes in the portal, we literally spend about 24 hours thinking about, should we reach out? Should we bring them in on a visit? We signed Malia Langstaff the last week of May, and our players reported on Memorial Day. It's just such a quick turnaround. And so you try to do your due diligence, you make phone calls, try to talk to anyone that, has ever worked with the players, that know their family, just to make sure you're checking all the bases that you can in a very short period of time. But I think the biggest difference that we have found is like we've got a group of 4 freshmen this year, and they were like family before they got here because we have known them for 2 years. And then we've got these transfer players coming in that, we've known them for maybe a month. And we just have a long way to go to get to know them and just, understand what their goals are and where they're coming from. And it's I don't know, a real learning process, I think, with the transfer portal kids. I will say that just the atmosphere at Abilene Christian, within our locker room, on our campus, very friendly, family type atmosphere. And I do feel like the new players all feel very welcomed, even if we've only known you for a month. I think that they do feel very welcomed and feel like they're a part of a family pretty quickly when they get here in the summer.
Coach, you picked up one of the more intriguing transfers, I feel like, this off-season cycle in Aspen Thornton from Ouachita. Am I saying that right? Or am I close?
Aspen Thornton. Yes, Aspen Thornton.
But her transfer was Ouachita University. Am I saying that right?
Oh, Ouachita, yes.
Tell me about what you've seen from her in these early workouts. I mean, the numbers at the D2 level were pretty dang eye-popping.
Yeah. She's just a walking bucket. I mean, honestly, I know for a fact, the whole COVID, she couldn't go on visits is kind of why she mainly just had Division II offers and not Division I offers. And she's small. She's a small player too, but super quick, really good at creating shots for herself, very good three-point shooter, can score in a lot of different ways. We'll play her at the point and at the shooting guard. But this summer, she was probably more impressive in person than she was on video. Just watching her break down defenders, reading the defense, and just seeing these shots go in. And you're like, there's no one else on the team that can even get that shot up, and she's knocking it down. And so I'm really excited that we've got Aspen on our team. And she played a ton of minutes last year at Ouachita Baptist, and obviously, led the country in scoring. But a lot of good college experience, even though it wasn't for us. She is an experienced player. So we're excited to introduce her to the WAC for sure.
Another player that you got in the transfer portal this year is Zoe Jackson, who I read a quote from you that you seem pretty excited to have her just because she's a pretty good all-around player. What are you most excited, though, about her and what she can bring to the team?
Zoe is so fast. I mean, she is so fast with and without the ball. And so when I mentioned, trying to get more athletic, I mean, she definitely has helped us just with speed and quickness. She's a good on-ball defender. She started most of her games at Butler in the Big East. And I think she scored 13 against UConn, like she had a lot of good experience playing against high-level opponents. And so another player who is from Texas and someone that we knew of, but she committed really before we got actively involved in recruiting her. She had committed to Butler, but she's really good friends with Maddie, and she's really good friends with Bella Earle. And so I think they probably were the biggest recruiters for us when Zoe finally went in the portal. But we're excited and feel like she'll add a lot of athleticism to the point guard position.
Yeah, that was where I was going to go next, Coach, is how do you, for Bella Earle, how does she follow up a really good freshman year, a year where she was arguably in the run for freshman of the year behind Acacia Davis? And how does she not slump as a sophomore?
Yeah, that's something I think our staff has to help her with. She obviously is, I think, our biggest scoring threat going into the season, just because we know who she is. We know what she's about. We know how well she fits into our style of play because we've had her for a year. And so I think she, going into the season has to be kind of our go-to player until we see how some of the new players fit into, our system. But I think the sophomore slump is a real thing. It happens. Why? I don't know. I think we'd all like to package that if we knew how to keep that from happening. But I think just as a staff, we've got to be really good about encouraging her and putting her in positions to be successful. This summer, I've relied on her a lot to be a leader, to step up and show some leadership abilities, leading the young players that we have. And she's done a really good job. I mean, she's going to lead by example for sure on and off the court. It's really fun to coach players like Bella. I mean, you know exactly what to expect from her every day. She's going to come in with a positive attitude, probably have a joke or two. She's has a funny sense of humor. And then she is going to try to beat all of her teammates in every drill, the entire practice. And so you know exactly what you're going to get out of her every day.
When looking at your roster, and really a lot of rosters around mid-majors and the WAC specifically, you see a lot of players that are from the state, Abilene Christians, and in Texas. Is that a big part of the recruiting process? Telling these players, like, you're not too far from home and you're staying in state?
Yeah, it's funny when you look at our roster, we've never had such a diverse roster. I think we've got players from 7 different states on our roster, and we can thank the transfer portal for that. I mean, the majority of our recruiting is Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, a little bit into Arkansas and Louisiana. We kind of make a practice of recruiting players that we can like drive to see them, see their high school games. And so we don't recruit too far away, but we do have a very diverse roster. But for sure, when you see Texas and Oklahoma players that go far away from home, I think that is, a real recruiting tool that we use. Some kids don't care. I mean, we lost a couple in the portal that we felt like, oh, they're going to want to get closer to home, and they actually went way further away. So I think that just, depends on the player, but for sure something to consider, when you're talking about, transfers to go after.
Julie, I want to talk to you about, we asked Brett Tanner this the other day, but the Moody Center is supposed to be done this year in a couple of months. I mean, if I remember right, Zach Lassiter told me that maybe the end of August, September, everything should be pretty much finished and ready to go for volleyball season. You guys should be moving in the offices in the next couple of weeks, right? Am I
the new tournament seating? Do you have any thoughts on that at this point, or are you still learning how it's going to operate?
So from what I understand, furniture is coming in this month. And so that kind of dictates when we move into the offices. But I will share this with you guys. July 30th and 31st, we have a team camp. We've got 64 teams coming in for our team camp, and we will be playing games in Moody. So we're really excited about that. I don't know if like the scoreboard will be working. We may have like a portable scoreboard, but we will be in that facility. And Brett might have told you guys as well that we have a new practice facility, and we'll be playing games the 30th and 31st in our new practice facility as well. And so I think just all the thought that went into Moody, into our locker room spaces, into our practice facility was just very high level. It is the nicest basketball facility in this part of the country. It literally is. I hope that you guys can come see it. It turned out fabulous. Our locker room was fine, the one that we had, but we literally had a locker room. We had a space with lockers. We shared a bathroom with our volleyball team. And now we have our own video room. It's like a mini theater. We have a huge lounge area with a couple of TVs, lots of furniture. We've got basically a full kitchen, nutrition bar for them. And then the locker room is just amazing. It's huge. Everyone has plenty of space. They did a beautiful job with it too. I'm a huge fan of purple. Hard to catch me not wearing purple. And they have purpled out in this whole facility. It's great. And then Moody, the arena itself, even if you did not see what it looked like before the renovation, I think people are just going to be just amazed at it. All the seats are purple, which is beautiful. But it's really, really pretty. They did a great job with the court as well. Just the stain, everything on the court is great. And Brett and I, we have offices on the 3rd floor where we can come out of our office and we can sit in a row of chairs at the top of Moody. So we can watch practice for individuals or watch each other's games basically from our office suite. So it's pretty awesome.
Is there anything from a scheduling standpoint you can talk about at this point, like tournaments or anything of that nature?
We're just anxious to get our WAC schedule and kind of see, who we're playing where and everything there. But I would say the most exciting thing for us as far as the schedule right now is August 3rd through the 10th, we're going to Portugal. And so that's kind of our big trip this year. And so our players were here the month of June, and they'll be back in about a week, and we'll start working out for that Portugal trip. And so that is, well, indeed, that is the most exciting travel on our schedule this year.
Let's talk about that for a second. How important is that, especially with the Chelsea and Daryl have already mentioned the youth, to get some games together, to spend more time together, to build that chemistry, I guess you could say, and maybe get some experience playing against upper level players.
Oh yeah, it is invaluable to us, and we've had this trip postponed for 2 years, and now that it's here, it's like this was postponed because this is the team that needs 2 games before the season starts, just because we have all these new players and we have new players learning our system, but this is also when you're trying to figure out like who are going to be the leaders of our team, who's leading in the locker room, who's the leading rebounder, who's the leading scorer, but who are the vocal leaders out on the court. And so it's just such a blessing that we get to play 2 actual games in August to kind of see, those roles start developing a lot earlier than they would if we didn't have this international trip. And I found out this last week, I was recruiting at Nike Nationals in Chicago, and Cal Baptist and Utah Valley are also going on international trips. So, it kind of puts us on an even playing field with the other teams in our league that are also taking trips.
Either one of you got any more questions for Coach Julie Goodenough? You can say yes or no. I can't, you can speak up here. This is a podcast.
I'm good, Kyle.
Well,
I think we've covered our bases for the most part.
Absolutely. Julie, thanks for taking the time tonight on the Straight Out of Whack podcast. We'll obviously be talking as the season gets closer, and we'll, see what's going on. And I'm going to admit I am making a trip to Abilene on September 12th. I'll be in Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've already talked to Zach Lassiter about it, so he's going to give me kind of the full tour of Moody. And,
Nice.
yeah, so, I'm excited. And
Awesome. Yeah.
it's going to be a good time this season. This next season, I think there's a lot of good basketball, a lot of parity, and yeah. So we appreciate you joining the Straight Out of Whack podcast.